Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metrics Metagame. Joining me here is Wes and Ryan, and my name's Brandon. We're gonna go through and talk to Ryan here. We wanted to have him on the channel because he has recently played a pretty crazy Fai list, and we wanted to see how that was going. And so we'll start off here. First of all, I want to thank all of our patrons. We have three as of last time I checked, and we really appreciate those three. And we'll definitely be finding ways to show our appreciation for our patrons. We're still starting out, so and Ryan here is one of our three patrons. So thanks, Ryan.
Yeah,
we really appreciate your support.
Support good content creators.
I don't know if we're good yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get through repetition, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead, Wes. I'll let you kind of start it off here and
get us
into it.
So Ryan, you showed up. You're one of the Atlanta boys, and how did you even hear about this game? I'm supposed to say, did you play anything before this?
So I grew up. Yu-Gi-Oh came out when I was in high school, and that was kind of my entry. TCG, dabbled in Magic. I played the digital ones, Hearthstone, all that. But Flesh and Blood comes from League, actually. So my League of Legends is like my main game. And there's a shoutcaster on League that goes by the name of Doa. He's the guy that, if you've ever seen the crazy Faker Zed play, whatever, he's the one that shoutcasted that one. And I followed him on YouTube, and he put out a video. And one day I was just bored and watched it. And at the very end of it, it was like a life update video. And he mentions, he's like, "Oh, if you ever like TCGs, check out this thing called Flesh and Blood." And I was like, sure, why not? I Google it, and it looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it originally gave me Hearthstone vibes, like, "Oh, you get like a hero kind of thing, okay." And then I watched like the how to play video with Ira that LSS put out, and just I was addicted from that point. I was like, I need to play this, and found local play stores, sold all my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff I had left over the years, and
Jesus,
jumped right in and haven't looked back.
Yeah, the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I'm about to say, I think whenever you walked in, I said, I think you were on like an Oldham Blitz deck, like fresh out the box Blitz deck, and we're all just like, what do you have? Borrow this shield, use this. And then like the next week you walk in and you're like, surprise everyone, I'm a Dory player.
Dude, imagine this. Like, you sit down at your first armory, right? You don't know anyone there. Everyone's kind of like welcoming. You pull out like your little Blitz Oldham deck, and the guy you play, so it was Austin, who I haven't seen it in a while. He was there, and he was like next to me. He's like, "All right, let me coach you through this like game, like my first ever game." And I was playing against Justin, from Play Live, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really know what I'm doing. I know like the rules. I know what a pitch is, right? I know what the numbers on the cards mean, but that's about it. So Austin's kind of coaching me through what the best lines are with this crappy Blitz deck. And then he's actually putting up a game against Justin, who was on, I think, Bravo or something, but like a real deck. And Austin's like actually giving him a run for money. Austin's really good at the game, turns out. And Justin was like, "Am I actually really about to get beat by a Blitz deck?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing. You're playing him, really." But then after that game was over, they're like, "All right, so that's what it feels like to be on a crappy Blitz deck. Now see what this feels like. Here's a Crown of Seeds. Here's a Winter's Wail. Here's a Rampart or whatever, right?" So they gave me everything. And I played my next game with that stuff, and I was like, wow. And so it was just such an amazing new player experience with this Atlanta community. Has just been amazing.
Yeah, you're just watching the dollar bills go up.
Oh, yeah.
Up. You're like, how much does it cost to make my deck feel like this?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to make my deck feel like this? Oh, okay. But it's fun, right? Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
But you recently, so I've always known you as a Dory player, because you and I, it's inevitable. We get paired up weekly.
Yep.
That is every week. But you went to do a RTN, last weekend or weekend before last?
Yeah, I think it was 2 weekends ago now.
Yeah, and you switched it up. You played a little bit of Fai. Why was that?
So yeah, Dory has been like my main since I ever tried her, which was about a month after Oldham when I started. And so that's been my main deck. Everyone pretty much knows me around here as a Dory player. But so Uprising came out, and I actually watched on the Card Guys YouTube channel. They had a show match, and one of the Blue Pitch team, the Hong Kong members, had a Fai deck that was very similar to what I ended up using, and I was like, wow, that looks really interesting. And then one of our locals, Sebastian, brought that same sort of combo burst Fai deck to play live, and just shredded my Viscerai that I was on, because I have a competitive Viscerai deck that I keep around for when I need to try to win. And Dory's for fun, but he just destroyed it, and I had like good turns too. And I was like, wow, that deck is fast. So then I sat down with my buddy Andrew and asked him some card choices and things like that. We made this list and brought it to Peach State, where Wes became very familiar with the list under his hands. But deck go fast.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, definitely go fast.
yeah, that's I mean, I think that's like an understatement, right? So you came back, from winning that, you were telling me, hey, this is how you present damage with this deck. And you're like, I don't know, like, do I play Dory or do I play this? And I remember I was sitting there across from you and I had like, I think it was like Spreading, Tome, Brand of Cinderclaw, and a blue. And Andrew walks in as I'm like mid-turn. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I don't want to do this yet because I think it's premature. Andrew's like, no, you go now. You do this. So
it just to set the stage, I went first as Dory. I have 4 3 blocks in hand and set a sink below an arsenal and a full fridge still. Courage and everything. So I was like, I'm pretty insulated. I got like 60 something health here. I was ready to, crack back at whatever he had. But crack never came.
But I mean, it's like, it was just, spreading into Brand, into Sword, into Phoenix Flame, then Book, then Draw, then Art of Wars. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? And Andrew's like, you start playing your hand.
You pitch cards and you play the cards in your hand.
Yeah, I mean,
you ended up getting a Phoenix form with all 3 flames in it.
Yeah,
and
what was it? Phoenix form for 7. 7 go again on hit, draw 3.
And I had already like tried to block because I knew the wound was coming, right? So I'm trying to minimize my hits on the chain, and he's just able to get to this thing, and I got like 1 block left.
That's
you made the list. This is your list.
Yeah.
This isn't even fair.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, you ended up having a similar turnaround, right? Because then you were telling me when you came back from the weekend, you played a Prism. You're like, oh, I played aggro Prism. She presented 30, and you presented what back?
Yeah, it was like 44, 46, somewhere around there. But yeah, ever since I saw how high it can go, and it's like, if you play against a deck that doesn't demand you block, like no deck's gonna put out the same numbers, in my experience. But yeah, I ended up getting second at the RTN to Nathan, which Andrew told me after the game I actually should have won if I took a slightly better line, but just second's still good.
Yeah, second's still good, man.
It's like the games you play that you win, somebody tells you how you could have done better, and then the games you lose, definitely, you just know inside how you could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, if you're good, Wes, we can start going through these card choices a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some pretty typical choices, and then there's a few outliers that I definitely kind of want to talk about. So we'll start with some of the sideboard pieces. The typical ones we see Belittle pretty often, and the 2 blue Minnowism. Sometimes people run 3, kind of up to user's choice there. That's a pretty obvious sideboard into stuff that requires more resources, like Icelander, correct?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that, it's pretty well explained there. And what other comments do you have on the Belittle Minnowism line?
It's just good, right? Like, it's not incredible that it breaks the game, but it's just a consistent line you can kind of shove into any deck, and it helps function as like 3 go again, gain 2 resources is basically what Belittle ends up becoming. So it's just very good. I think for the long-term health of the game, it probably won't stick around just because of how generically good it is. It's not broken, but it definitely becomes like a crutch in a sense, where it takes up some design space, I think.
Yeah, there's an argument for the design space a little bit, I guess. I did feel a little better about it. 'Cause, I don't like that kind of I missed the word. When everything kind of homogenizes. There we go. I
Exactly.
don't really like when that happens in a game like this, but when I started seeing all these lists tended to have a little sideboard icon next to the belittle minnowism, and it kind of makes more sense that way because it isn't draconic right away, and depending on how many brands you're running, it can be, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a hindrance if you don't need it. So the next one I noticed here is Thaw, but a lot of people aren't running Thaw. So were you expecting to see a lot of Oldham's, Icelanders, Lexis, or?
Honestly, it serves two purposes. One, it's just like I have extra sideboard slots with that list. So why not put it in for one? It's the only card in the game that pops the Affliction Auras. So if for some reason you do meet against the Icelander, you can kill one of her win conditions there by popping out the what's it called, the Frost Hex.
Frost
the
Hex,
Frost
yeah.
Hex,
Yeah, Frost Hex. It's also a 6 block, which does help for popping purposes, or 6 attack, I mean. But honestly, I don't think I sided it in all weekend. I think I had him in the Prism matchup, but it didn't end up actually mattering because that was like a 2-turn game. But yeah,
Yeah. I think a
That's
lot
why
of people
they're
were probably down on Icelander there in the beginning and just picking up a little bit of momentum. I think I saw she won one RTN, so maybe we'll see more of her. Maybe we start to slot in like 1 or 2 thaws.
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see that kind of diversity, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What else is there here? Rise Up is one I don't think is in every list. It seems to me like you're focused really hard on the Phoenix Flame route. You got the Phoenix Forms, you got the Rise Ups, the Inflames, you've got the I just missed it. There we go. Flame Call Awakening is in here. And I did want to mention one more, because that's kind of a package. You're trying to shove as many Phoenix Flames as you can, and then go off with Phoenix Form or Rise Up, which can crush. They can crush you. A lot of people are on the Belittle package, like we talked about, but I did notice in here that you actually ran 2 yellow Belittle. So tell us a little about that, please.
So the 2 yellows just help with the consistency of it. So I think all in all, it was like 3 reds, 2 yellows, and 2 blue minnows.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's a couple things that they are just another attack with Go Again that Stubby interacts with. You can make them obviously draconic with the cinders, and they are a yellow pitch still, which helps to avoid getting like a full red hand. Like a worst case scenario, you can pitch it for 2, but really with this deck, it's like it just enables you to go wider, to fund your cards that go wider. Because it does run a lot of like the Spreading Flames and stuff like that, all cost 1. And if you want to use Sword with that, Sword costs 2. So you can very easily use those resources that it gets you with your extra minnow.
And definitely having 5 belittles to go get those minnows is nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. And another one, admittedly, I've been watching a lot of TCG talk. He really likes Fai a lot. I was kind of getting a little interested in it, and I've tested it out a little bit myself now. I was big on Dromai at first. I'm still big on Dromai, but another comment I actually had to make about it is we started seeing the yellow belittles in some of the rune blades up until Chain left, and I was mainly seeing maybe like 1 in Chain. It's kind of a surprise, I think. Another one though, on the TCG talk thing, YouTuber, he's kind of like started on 3 tomes, and then he's come off the tomes one by one. I don't think he has a tome in his current list right now, or at least some of the more recent stuff he's talked about. And I think that might be a sentiment that's reflected across the Fai community, unless you see one. So how much of an impact has the Tome of Firebrand? There we go. I lost it again. How much of an impact has Tome of Firebrand had in your playlines?
I think it does vary depending on which Fai list you go with, because there is another list which runs like the Shuko and a Mask of Momentum and goes more for like a value tempo kind of game plan. And I think maybe in that type of list, cutting a tome is better because you're not focused on one big turn. So if you see your tome on a turn where you don't need it or whatever in that list, it's kind of like a dead card, or you arsenal it for later. But in this list, you're really only playing for one big turn. That's what the whole list is all about, is one big turn, and you should present, in theory, like 25 plus damage, hopefully during that turn, which gives you either a kill right there or enough momentum that you can finish them off in the next turn or two, and you still present like 16 or so. But it's basically running 3 books, to answer your question, is just to almost give you as much odds as you can of getting one on your big turn, which, obviously makes your big turn even bigger. Try to get as much value out of stubbies as you can, because stubbies will buff obviously everything on the chain this turn. So every card you are able to draw and then play is just more value on stubbies, spreading flames, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So you're saying basically that with this deck, the tome makes your turn that you want to go off and do 25 plus damage even bigger than that, perhaps?
Yeah,
Maybe?
I mean, you could say that. We're not running that card, but yes. Tome and Art of War do the same thing, right? So you want to get one of those in your arsenal and then go off.
Yeah, and I think the Art of War is self-explanatory. You did bring that up. I think we can pretty much leave that one. We've seen how crazy that can be in aggro lists.
We've all been on the receiving end of Art of War.
Yeah. Another question I've seen posed is Phoenix form. So what are we expecting to get out of Phoenix form with this deck?
Like, absolute worst case scenario, you're going to have one flame. You start the game with one flame, hopefully. If you're a 5 player, remember to put your flame in your graveyard.
Yeah. Kind of important.
Yeah, it is. So at the very worst, it's 3 go again, right? So that's just no different than any of your other 3 go agains you run, the volcanic head jabs, whatever they're called. So worst case, it's just another copy of that. But most of the time, you'll probably have a second flame in there, which gets, I believe, an extra +2 on it. So make it 5 go again, which is just 2 free damage, which can make a difference in a game. 1 damage can make a difference in a game. But if you're able to do the Exodia play that Wes was able to do, yes, you can threaten 7 or 8 on it, depending on if it's like your stubbies and Art of War buff, also +1, right? Spreading flames. You can get it pretty high. You can get it to 6, 7, or 8, and then on hit draw 3, which wins you the game if your opponent doesn't know how to block around that card. Like, you just win the game on the spot.
Maybe even if they do know how to block.
Yeah, even if they do.
Well,
I don't know if an Oldham can put up with 63 damage.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, it's like whenever I think I had to pop Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to go get that last Phoenix Flame. So like, if it wasn't so late in the chain, and he's blocked out at this point, it's like you're telegraphing, right? Like, you're showing my opponent, hey, I have a Phoenix form. I have 2 on the chain. I'm going to get my 3rd. It's like, okay, so he's about to come in for at least 5. Okay, 6, 7. Okay, he's coming in for 7. Can I stop it? So like, if you're, if someone sees that coming, then they know like, hey, this is where I have to block. And like, Tommy did that last night, playing against him. I popped Mask. I went to get my flame. He's like, this is where I flick flag. Yes, it is. Because that stops my turn right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're hoping by then. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say it's very important. That's what happened in the finals, actually, when I ended up losing, is because that was my only line, was like pop Mask to get my flame to try to present the 7 on hit draw 3. But very good opponent, saw that coming. Nathan is really good at the game on Briar. So he knew to block, wait till I blocked on this one card, and he did, and it did shut the turn down. But if you can hide it and like get that way later or something after you've presented enough for them to block, then yeah, you'll be sitting pretty when you say 7 and on hit draw 3.
Yeah. And man, hopefully you can get that, and even if you telegraph it, hopefully you can get it to the point where they've blocked enough that they either can't full block it or, they something. Because by that point you've got, 3 Phoenix Flames plus 2 or 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Most people don't have 5 cards in hand. Yeah. So I think that's really it for the specifics on the list. Most of the stuff's pretty typical, choices for Fai. I have heard mention, I know one person, Aaron, has brought up that the importance of the blues in the list on, there's another list out there, the White Rice Fai, and those sort of mid-range decks like you were talking about. Not mid-range, I guess more tempo and value type. They're running the Flying Kick and they're running a Cinderskin devotion. So you chose not to run the flying kick. Guessing. Well, I'm not gonna guess. Go ahead, and tell me about it. What's your choices in the blues? Because I know they're important.
Yeah, and flying kick is not one that was considered strongly, honestly. And maybe it is worth the spot on the list. It's not volcanic. It doesn't have go again. And usually with my list, you're ending on assault the wound or you're ending on a lava burst. Neither of those two have go again, and that's sort of your combo finisher. So you'd have to be replacing one of those with the flying kick. And yeah, it comes in for, was it like 4 or 5 or something at the blue one?
Yeah, it comes in at 5 if it's chain link 3.
Yeah, which Salt the Wind and Lava Burst already do that. Plus they're volcanic. Well, Salt the Wind isn't, but Lava Burst is. And so just, it gets buffed by spreading flames and things like that. So
exactly. Yeah, and I kind of just want to bring it up. I know, it's kind of more for the tempo list. It doesn't feed into those big turns. It's kind of more of one of those tempo payoffs. So this list probably, we talked about it. Good reason not to have it in there. A lot of people may think that's kind of obvious, but we're all about like newer players here, and we kind of wanted to make sure we cover all the bases of why we're leaving certain cards out, why we're putting certain ones in, and feel free to hop into the Discord sometime if you guys have any questions too. We're all here, we all talk, and if we don't have an answer, we'll find one for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll continue on here. I'll hand it back over to you, Wes. I've been talking a little while, and
you're good, man.
Let you keep it up there.
All right, so Ryan, you and I talked Tuesday this week, and you're talking about possibly leaving Fai behind. You're going to drop him like Andy dropped Woody and pick up Buzz Lightyear. So who's Buzz Lightyear?
Well, we've already dropped the Woody, so I already have gotten rid of my Mask Momentum and stuff like that. But I went to a good cause, to Jeremy, who is the guy who made the White Rice Fai List, and he went 9-0 with that and his RTN. So that's a great list too. Definitely check that out. But yeah, so I obviously went back to Dory and love Dory, but now I'm trying to build Lexi, and we're gonna see where that goes.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
You're gonna punish all these. You're gonna punish all these guys that don't block.
Yeah.
All the White Rice Fais out there.
Yeah, all the
We'll try.
It's gonna be insane. So we're coming up on nationals. You're qualified. I know we got some time between now and then, but who are you looking at? Who do you think is gonna be good?
I mean, unless any crazy meta swaps are coming through, I think Bravo is going to be one of the top decks to beat. OG Bravo is great. He has one bad matchup in the Prism, basically. And Prism is not around because all the aggro decks running around, all the Rune Blades. Like, I think Bravo is just really favored right now into most of the field, which is what you want in a meta deck. I honestly don't think Dory is that poorly positioned. Recently in my Dory list, I have slotted in some unmovables in the sideboard to help with Bravo. And have been able to win that matchup since I did that. And they come in handy against Lexi as well, another historically bad or unfavored warrior matchup where you can fatigue her. I fatigued one on Tuesday, a very good Ice Lexi player. So I don't think Dory is as bad as everyone thinks she is, but that's also a little bit of bias there. And then Lexi's very well positioned for most of the field as well. Although if you're gonna play Lexi, like Bravo is kind of the same good matchups as far as I'm aware. So why wouldn't you just play Bravo? But yeah, if I had to pick a meta deck that I think is going to be good, it would be Bravo. But what am I playing? It's probably Dory or Lexi.
Yeah, I'm about to say, well, I mean, everything in Lexi blocks 3. So, I mean, it at least blocks. But you can only have so many turns where you don't have a turn against Bravo before your life is just 0.
Yeah, because that hammer is going to keep coming until the end of time. Lexi has a certain amount of arrows.
Yeah, that hammer's coming in for 6. With Andrew's list, it's coming in for 6. And
sometimes 7 dominate discard too. And
oh yeah,
then
forgot.
You cry.
Tear, yeah, Tear Sunder. Yeah, forgot that's a card.
Such a mean card.
Oh man.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew and his deck tech for Bravo.
Yeah,
that was great.
Man.
He's his just game knowledge, deck knowledge, card synergies. Like he's hurt my feelings before I hand him a deck list. How does this look? It's like, taking your homework to your dad in elementary school. It's like 2 + 2 is 5. It's 4. Bye. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, no. All right. Thanks, man. But he makes you better though, right? Like ultimately,
Yeah.
like he wants to make you better.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, he's just a great dude. Great dude. Oh man. So hot take. If you could get one card for any hero that you think that hero either needs it or it would just completely shake up the meta, what kind of card would you give them, and what hero would it go to?
Does it have to be a card from another hero? I'm giving it to another hero, or to create a new one?
Either or.
Hmm.
Either
Whatever
or.
the hero would need, basically. What hero needs a gift, and what would the gift be?
I mean, I'm obviously biased, but if I'm picking for Dory, I think she needs another card that's similar to Glistening, which says you must block this turn, because it just feels bad when Dory's, her win condition is interacting with your opponent, getting counters on your Dawnblade. And when your decks like Fai go so fast that they don't care about your Dawnblade counters, they're like, sure, I'm gonna present more than your Dawnblade will ever present, and it's like, well, what's the point of Dory existing? So I don't know, some kind of card that makes them block. Like Glistening obviously is amazing, and you can get 3 counters on one turn, sometimes 4 if you get a 3 hit in. But some of the aggro decks fight, like they will still race your Dawnblade even if you just give it 3 counters. So it just feels a little bad.
What you're trying to say here is Dory needs Terra Sunder.
Yeah, Dory needs. Yeah.
The problem with Terra Thunder, like Dominate in Dory is actually historically not so great unless you're closing out the game. Dominate's great, but Dory actually like wants you to block. She just wants to go over by like 1 damage or 2 damage, like because that her win condition is as long as I get that 1 or 2 in and build these counters, I'm gonna win the game. But yeah, I'm trying to think to answer your question. Like,
I'm thinking maybe some kind of on-hit trigger is what she would need. Something that says, hey, if I don't block this, then I can't have a turn next turn, or some kind of consequence.
Maybe something conditionally, like it makes your opponent think. Or I'm thinking like,
yeah,
like a buff for it. So it's like you play it before the swing. It's not a reaction. And it says like your next Dawnblade attack or whatever sword attack, if it hits, gains go again, but if it doesn't, draw a card or something like that. Where your opponent has to think like, okay, do I want to give you go again, or do I want to like let you end your turn but draw a card or something, or whatever it is. And that goes more of like her whole mind game perspective too. Like, which one do you think she wants? And that would probably be my choice. A card like that makes you think, and that's what I liked about the game: interaction and making you think, which Fai does not do.
I haven't played a lot of Dory, or played into a lot of Dory, but I know the couple times I have. There's definitely the times where I send 3 cards to block, and it was just a sword pass, and it felt really bad because she gets in your head, man. She can really make you make some bad choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the most fun parts about playing her, is when I realized that, and like how much like people that usually don't take a long time to think or whatever, now they're thinking, and I like that.
Overpower for 6.
Yeah, got you with that on Tuesday.
Like when you see a yellow pummel or a yellow razor reflex, and you just go, how many do they have? You just don't know, right? I had the same guy I mentioned earlier, Aaron, when he was teaching me to play. Pretty much, he was playing Katsu, and I had Levaya, and the guy he had like 1 Art of War. This is a long time ago. He had 1 Art of War in his list, and he did it just to mess with people. So there's definitely a mind game to it. We can talk about that another day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually using the Josh Lau Dory list, he has a bunch of YouTube content, amazing, one of the best Dory players in the world. But his list has 1 Blade Flash, and I don't really like Blade Flash, but I like one of them because then your opponent don't know if you're running 1 Blade Flash, 2, 3, and that makes a big difference.
Well, it's like you and I talked, and we're like, the average pump is 3.
Yep.
That's average. So it's like I forget that Overpower has Reprise. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to block 6. You're like, okay, Overpower for 6. Like, golly. Okay.
Yep.
This is not good.
Yeah.
Power is a good card.
All right. Man. Well, unless you guys have something else, I think I'll go ahead and wrap us up.
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys for joining us here at the Metrics Metagame. Once again, my name is Brandon. This is Wes. And we had Ryan on today talking to us. Thanks for joining us. Like I said,
Yeah, pleasure
Discord,
to be here.
Patreon. We have a Patreon up and running now, and our Discord is up and running as usual. We still have some future plans coming up that are in the works. We'll announce those as soon as they happen. And you guys have a great one till next time.
Yep.
Take it easy, guys.
Yep. See you, man.
See y'all later.